So I thought I'd make a video of how I'm rebuilding the turbo on a diesel Suzuki Vitara 1.9 PSA XUD9 engine. So different than the Peugeots, this is my downpipe. And I didn't start here actually, this is just what I did in the last days or so. So I thought I'd work on the downpipe because you can see the casting itself is quite horrible. Let's see if I can get some lights in here. There we go. The casting itself is quite horrible. The inside casting actually looked like this too. So, I mean, that's what it looked like on the inside. So let's take a look at what it looks like on the inside now. I'm just going to throw a light inside here so that way we can... Oh, that's a little bit too bright. Let me back it off a little bit. So that's the casting now on the inside. Wow, that's really... Let's try to take that light out of there. Maybe that's going to work a bit better. Okay, that is working better like that. So my buddy asked me, like, how am I rebuilding my turbo for my Suzuki Vitara 1.9 turbo diesel PSA XUD9 engine. So what I did is I bought a turbo from the scrapyard, and that's the turbo. It included the downpipe, and I bought a different manifold that did not have an EGR valve on the top. So that I'll show you in a second. So this is the downpipe, which is different from any other PSA XUD9 downpipe in the fact that because it's a much more the angle itself is a bit softer, even though it doesn't look like it. The other angles are quite harder because they have to go they're right up against the firewall and they have to cut back. Anyway, you can see the casting on this. Never mind these points here right now. I'll talk about those in a second. The inside casting actually is rough like this. It was rough like this. It was quite horrible. I'll show you what it was like by the turbo side. So there's the turbo side, and the inside casting was quite like this with a lot of accumulation. This is actually right by the turbine wheel. It's quite nicely polished, but the actual inside the downpipe was quite nasty, like the turbo. Anyway, let's put that away for a second. So let's look at it now. So, like I said, the inside casting looked like this. It was all ripply and bumpy inside the turbo. What I've done is I've taken the downpipe and I've cut these. This was here. Right there. These are when they're casting to make sure the metal flows through every part. There's an excess flow, so that's the excess flow. There was another one here. It's around here somewhere. There it is. Big chunky things like that. These actually cool the downpipe when it's nice and hot, but you want a downpipe to stay nice and hot so the hot air has a free flow without this cooling it down so much. You can see I still got one more to cut off here. I got to cut that. That's nothing there. I got to cut that. I've got to this one's actually nice and smooth down to the casing. This one here is still quite rough. I haven't finished it yet. But that's the outside. So let's take a look inside, what I've done inside. So you saw the outside and how nasty it was, how ripply the skin was. That's what the inside was like. And you know, let's too much light. Let's take a look now. So you can see that this is where the wastegate is. This is still a bit rough, but it feels smooth with the finger. There's no hard edges. There's still some pitting in here, minor pitting, but I mean this was absolutely nasty. Let's just see. You can see a little bit of the original nastiness in the corner there where I didn't actually get a tool in there, and even around that area you can see like the pock marks and everything like that. The whole thing was nasty like this before. These ones are just so deep. I have to take off so much metal that I'm not going to bother with it. It's just a lot better as it currently is than it was originally. inside, I mean the air, the exhaust is going to flow so smooth through here now. This is all smooth out. It's not a mirror finish, but it is a very shiny, smooth finish. Let's take a look at the other side. You can see down in there, there's still a casting line down in there. To get that out, I just have to remove so much metal, but I've got the rest of it. Like, it's just a quarter millimeter, half a millimeter deep. But the rest of it is just so much smoother now. You can even see on the exit, I've actually chamfered it a little bit here. So, I mean, it's just so mirror finished now that it's so much better than it was from the factory. Like, look at the rimple skin. That's what this was like beforehand. So now it's just so much smoother. I've tried to get this. The hardest part of this whole thing was trying to get this inside edge right where my tip of my finger is, to get that polished, and I've got it to a nice, no steps, nice polish. So that's the downpipe. What I want to do now is I want to sandblast it, and then I'll coat this with some high temperature paint just to keep its color and stop it from rusting. You can see I didn't actually nick. This is a little bit of material moved, but you can, I don't know if you're not gonna be able to see in the video. I didn't actually remove any material from that there, but the surface here is nice and clean. It's going to seal up just like it was from the factory. So you can see it's almost mirror finished now. It's gonna flow very nicely. So that's the downpipe. Oops. The exhaust manifold. This is a PSA XUD9 something or other from an early Peugeot or Citroën. It's got no ERG, so this is probably 90s, 94-ish. They usually have an ERG here, and it's a terrible ERG. There was no cooling before going into the manifold, nothing. It was it would blow hot exhaust straight into the manifold. It's quite horrible. The ERG design on the late engines. So, but you're actually much better off to run no ERG whatsoever. EGR. Oh, I keep saying EGR. So what I've done to this one is, let me just set up a light. So, I've polished just the immediate input. I've tried to polish inside. You have to get in there with your fingers. There's no tools that'll get around that corner like that. I mean, there's extrude honing, but for like, it's $500 to do a manifold. So your fingers are much easier. You can see that I've got the ports down to a nice polish for the immediate inside. There's still some nastiness right at the flange. I didn't want to remove any material here because I'm right on the gasket. The actual original port match is quite good, so you don't want to remove any material here. So it's just a little bit of nastiness right there, but I've really smoothed out the ports, considering that it was like an orange peel even on the inside here. So now they're nice and smooth. It's smooth here, it's smooth here. The transition's smooth. It's smooth on the transition here. I've just started the work on the other side. There's still lots of scratches. You can see, let's see. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that on the light there. There's lots of scratches, so I've just started the transition work here. I've got to take a little bit off this lobe right here because it's quite nasty. But the most important part, I mean, this is just simple smoothing out. It's not a huge gain. The biggest defect in design of this is the turbo flange port, and you can't even see the defect, because basically what it was is that this had a 90-degree angle. So basically it went like that, and then it went like that. So the air would have to come out from the exhaust, come to here, and then take a 90-degree angle. It was straight out. It was quite nasty. So basically, and what I've done is I've actually chamfered. Oh wow, no light whatsoever. Let's see if I can get my light to stand up here. So what I've done is I've actually bell-mouthed the exit a bit. I mean, it doesn't look like a lot, but if you see the card, I mean, convert those 2 points between here and here into a 90-degree angle, and that's what it was before. And now it's this nice bell mouth. And I'm not done yet, but I'm very happy with what I've got before, considering that it was literally a 90-degree hard angle before. So even that tiny little thing, I mean, I saw online that bell mouths on intakes can help increase airflow on an intake compared to a flat entrance by 33%. So if this gives me 33% better flow, that's a huge difference. Even if the intake is still a little orange peely on the inside, having this bell mouth heading into the turbo is going to make a huge difference. So that's not done yet. Oh, other things I've done. I've removed some of the casting lines. They were just nasty casting lines. I'm going to leave. I'm not going to polish it down to the orange peel. It's not really worth it, but I'm going to get this sandblast. Once I'm done with this side, I'll have it machined. I'll have this side machined, and then I'll high temperature paint it. Simple. Okay, that's that. Other things on the turbo. I haven't touched the exhaust side of the turbo yet. The turbo is actually going to be sent off to get rebuilt because I just don't want to mess with the turbo rebuild. And there's actually a reasonably priced turbo rebuilder near here. Well, 3-hour drive, but near here, and they'll rebuild the turbo. They'll put a lightweight flywheel on. They'll do a high-speed balance. They'll do the whole thing. So sometimes it's worth it to let somebody else that knows what they're doing do that sort of thing. And especially since I'm putting all the work into doing the manual labor stuff, the non-technical manual labor stuff, the polishing stuff, I'll let them take care of the turbo. Other than that, then, what I might, before I even send it to them, I've already done some work to the intake port. Now, I've bell mouthed this. I can't even get it in there because it's too long, but let's just see. You can see that I've bell mouthed that by at least 3-4 millimeters on the intake, and a bit on. I bell mouthed this a bit, and then I've also polished the transition between these two pieces to be so there's no step. It's nice. I mean, you have to take my word for it, but the step between these two parts, because this piece comes out, so the step between this piece and the other piece, there's no step. It's nice and smooth. So that's all I did to the compressor side. I didn't modify the compressor at all. I want a small compressor. What I'm looking for is an engine that makes boost from nothing to 4,000 RPM, which is not a high boosted engine, but what I'm looking for is torque. Nice torque curve to drive. I don't want to rev my engine very much. The XUDs, they can rev, but they don't have a long life. If you rev them a lot, they'll throw their rods and stuff like that. So with boost, they run real nice, make a little bit of smoke, and are torquey. So 200 foot-pounds of torque in a little Suzuki is going to be great. Maybe 250 foot-pounds of torque. That's nice. What has to be done now is I need to clean this up before I send it to the people who rebuild it. I'm probably going to get this sandblasted when I'm done sandblasting that and sandblasting that, and I'll sandblast that. They're not actually going to do anything to this. Most of their work is going to be concentrated on the core, because I'm not changing wheel sizes or anything like that. Not going hybrid, so I can sandblast this before I send it to them. Other than that, there's going to be no change to that except except maybe I might, after sandblasting, if it isn't removed all this crustation around here, and this port doesn't match the port on that, I might bore this just a little bit, but other than that, there's not going to be much work done on that. Just clean up, sandblasting, clean up. Like I said, the turbo guys will rebuild the core, do all their fun stuff to that, lightened and better flywheel. But the bearings in this are good. It spins quite freely, but I'm sure it can be better. So that's my turbo build. There's the three pieces there. Let me get them closer. So turbo, bell-mouthed, or yeah, tapered intake. Clean up the ports, bell-mouthed on the exit, and a nice polish before the downpipe. Oh, dropping things over here. Okay, see you later.